Are you setting goals but failing to achieve them? Feeling stuck in a cycle of frustration? How could mastering setting intentions and execution elevate you to peak performance? Hey there, everyone. Vernita here, and I am talking about lessons from the Olympics on achieving peak performance and the art of goal setting and execution. And I'm giving you a little insight, what I call into this series a 10 by 10 by 10 lessons over 10 days, and hopefully 10 minutes some of my favorite lessons from the Olympic Games and how it relates to the topic at hand. And so, one person that I want to highlight in this lesson when we're talking about peak performance or setting an intention, not just goal setting, but setting an intention and executing on that, is Kristen Faulkner. She was the U.S. woman who won gold in the road racing, and I think that road race, I think it was like 98 miles that they had to ride this bike through the city. And she upset the big three. Like they had, I think it was five favorites, but the big three who had been winning, this sport, like the countries who had been winning this sport, since it's been introduced into the Olympics, she upset them by taking the first place win. I think she's the first U.S. woman to do that. And what was interesting about her is that she wasn't a cyclist. She didn't cycle when she was growing up or in middle school or even high school, or compete in any other competitions. Her story was that she took a spin class one day. She was a venture capitalist, right? So just hear that, a venture capitalist. I forgot what her education was, but it was one of those Ivy League schools, I believe. But either way, she's a venture capitalist. And then she took a cycling class, one day after work in Central Park. And she fell in love with cycling. She was like, you know what? I think I'm good at this. I like this. Let's go for the Olympics, right? And of course, there are other things she did to build up to that. But what an amazing thing. It was like just a thought. I was like, this is cool. Let's go to the Olympics. And she had that goal. She set that intention and she executed and came in first place. And if you saw that race, which I watched it, she was in the chase. She was going forward, and then all of a sudden, I think it was like a few miles ago, she shot out, from the crowd and went full speed ahead. And the camera, literally at the moment, the big three looked at each other, shook their head. They're like, "How in the world?" Because I'm pretty sure in their mind, they're like, "We're gonna keep this pace." But Kristen said, "Forget that. I'm going for it," and she held that pace, and they could not catch her, and she won. Why is this story related to what I'm talking about was mastery and goal execution over goal setting? It's because when you think about, and she had a coach to lead her this, you'll hear this theme about a coach. Even if you are self taught, a lot of these new athletes who are coming on, they're self taught, but they're still getting mentored by the other athletes. And then some coaches, even if they're not a big name coaching, they're not big name coaches. They're helping them set realistic yet ambitious intentions and goals. I think a lot of us get hung up on goal setting, and it's a sexy term. It's fun. Vision, make our vision boards. We set goals. We write them down. We write them out multiple times. But what people are failing to realize is not the goal; it's the intention and the execution. How you show up to meet that goal before it already happens. Who do you become along the way in that moment? Can you future cast yourself into already having achieved that result? And then what are you doing every single day, whether that's mentally or something physically, to get you to that level? So Kristen, I'm pretty sure, even though she took that cycling class, that one day in Central Park, when she really became set the intention of going to the Olympics, I don't even know. I did listen to her interview. I'm not sure if she said, "Oh, I want to win gold." I think it was, let me just get the goal of going to the Olympics, which was a big intention or goal to have. But it was more than just having the Olympics on her board. I'm pretty sure she was like, let me set this attention. Now, what do I need to do to get my body into this Olympian state? I may have never competed in a race before. I may have never been an Olympian before, but I've seen there are enough examples for me to embody that right now where I am. And I'm pretty sure she did that every single day, mentally and physically, by taking the necessary bike rides. It's a 4-hour ride. So she had mentors with her and she set those intentions. And it's also an identity thing that people don't really talk about. When you set these goals and when you're talking about mastering the execution, it's not just enough to have the goal. A lot of us have had the same goals 3, 5, 10 years, but why haven't we reached them? Personal experience, it's an identity. You have to own be that person now. And it sounds so cliche, but these are the things that you have to do. Make sure that you're setting realistic yet ambitious goals for your or intentions. And I'm careful about being real, saying realistic, but I want to make sure I put realistic in there with ambition, because you don't, some people say, oh, be delusional, and absolutely you should be delusional. So we're not talking about realistic as in setting limitations on yourself, but we're talking about be realistic. Like if you are, you know 700 pounds, and this is, no, I'm not body shaming anyone, but if you're 700 pounds and you're like, you know what, I want to win a medal in this 4 hour road race, you got to ask, and then in this 4 years. Now, I'm not a nutrition, I'm not a weight loss specialist. I'm a doctor, but I'm not that kind of doctor. I don't, I haven't seen it. And if you just put it in the comments for a story for me to watch, but is it honestly realistic for you to go from 700 pounds to be in top shape in 4 years to win a gold medal in a 4 hour bike race? I don't know. But what if, you know what, it may not be at the Olympic level, but what if it is at one of those qualifying races? That is still something that's ambitious and still realistic, right? If you are someone in your business and you've never sold anything in your life. While there are people who are making $1 million in a day, literally, I've seen these people. They've been adjacent coaches of mine. So I've had a privilege of not like working directly with them, but they've been on calls that I've been on. So I know that it's realistic. But if you've never sold anything in a day in your life, is it realistic for you to go sell something and make the $1 million, for you to start having $1 million days? No, because you have $10,000 days starting off. That is still ambitious, but still realistic. So I want to be careful with that, because I think sometimes we're like, oh yeah, be delusional. Yes, in your mind, it's I can do anything, but you want to set ambitious and realistic goals, or realistic and ambitious goals. So I want to be careful, like make sure you're not limiting yourself. You still want to have a ridiculous goal and a ridiculous intention, but you have to become that person. So the reality is not the amount or the amount of money or the tangible thing. Is, are you realistic about you as a person and becoming that person who are willing to put in the work? Can you really shift your mind, take that quantum leap in your mind for yourselves to believe that you can do that? If not, that's where you scale back a little bit. Now, there are people who can come right out the gate, but you have to know yourself or work with a coach who doesn't limit you, but help you grow to become that person. Now, I've personally seen people go from selling, a couple $100s, couple $1,000s to making $2 million in an hour, but in a matter of months. But it was that they did some work mentally and emotionally, and did some other things to make sure they were already that person, and they showed up for the moment. So let me know if you're tracking with that. And then of course, when you when you are Delulu and you hear some of the athletes talk about that, achieving peak performance, when you're talking about the art of goal setting and execution, you want to work with someone who can provide structure with you and accountability for the execution. The structure is very, very key. People think that these people are just out here and they're gifted and they were born to do that, but we've seen some amazing athletes. Kristen is one of them. She wasn't, quote unquote, born to do this. It was a 10-year thing, which is a long time. It's not a long time considering, some of these people have been doing their sports since, they were 3 to 5 years old. But she knew that she had to get on a structure to get at that level in such a quote unquote short amount of time. So you want to make sure that you're with someone who can provide you with that structure for the accountability, not just showing up to say, oh, I'm accountable, I did this little task, or I did this post, or I did the bike ride. But did you do the bike ride at the level that you needed to ride the bike to be this Olympic star? And then leveraging a coach expertise for fine-tuning execution strategies. We talked a little bit about that with precision training in the previous lesson, but the coach's expertise. Now, I don't know anything about her coach, but let's say she didn't have a big name coach, but there are a lot of videos and things that maybe she had to learn, or but even with videos, that's still taking time because you have to find them and search for them. But if you can get with someone who can have that mindset, put the strategies in place, tell you the mistakes that they've made or the mistake that they've seen. That's another thing. I know people say, learn from the people who did it. Sometimes the best coaches, and I give the example of Rich Lippin, who's never been an Olympian, but who's coached Olympic athletes. He's researched enough, and I find myself doing that. I've researched enough in a particular area to know these mistakes, these misconceptions, these errors, and I can tell you that it help you to avoid that pitfall. Don't do that. Do this. This may work for you. This may not work for you. If you do this and you fall into that, I can help you get out of that. So that also is a way to leverage your coach's time and cut off time. And then some action steps for you to think about is to collaborate with the coach to set strategic, smart intentions. Let's move away from goal setting, intentions, and working on your identity, on who you're becoming as you're implementing these daily habits and routines, and focusing on your inputs, things that you're doing every day versus the outputs. And then having that detailed action plan, like I said, focusing on inputs. So, are you riding a bike? Sure. But are you riding it at the max speed, at the max hours? How often are you looking at your nutrition? It can be for your business or your life. How many posts are you doing? How many sales calls are you doing? How many people are you reaching out to? How many videos are you making? How many products are you putting together? Whatever it is, are you focusing on the things that you can control and then executing with full faith and belief in yourself that you're going to, and expectation. And I talked about that in some other videos as well. And then reviewing and adjusting your execution strategy. A lot of people always change the goal. And I've made this mistake, and I've seen clients make this mistake. Do not change your goal unless it's something that's totally off. You change your execution strategy. You work with that strategy, you fine tune it. And when you're still not seeing the results, you change the strategy, not necessarily the goal. All right. So let me know what stood out to you. Think about, some of these key points on how to achieve peak performance. And that will help you focus on mastering setting intentions and not so much focusing on goal setting, but doing the execution part. And as we wrap up, I want to make sure I invite you to the 3R Virtual Expo, how to move from resume to reinvention to remarkable, shifting from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial way of thinking with ease. That is coming up on August 15th through the 18th, but it is pre-recorded. So if you cannot make those dates, I do invite you to go VIP so you can still have access, and then you can join our group to where we put a plan together with you live from the nuggets that you got from the virtual expo. So let me know what stood out to you. Let me know if you're going to take these action steps on collaborating with a coach or mentor, setting a detailed plan of action, and how are you reviewing and adjusting your execution strategy without changing your goal. All right, so stay with me as we move on to our next lesson from Olympic athletes and beyond.
Are you making your dash dazzle? You know that gap between your birthday and your sunset? If not, you're doing a huge disservice to your community, to yourself, and to your family. Hi, I'm Vernita Glenn White, and I want to welcome you to the Virtual Expo, from resume to reinvention to remarkable. This isn't just an event, it is a movement to bankrupt the burial plots. Now, you may be thinking, well, that sounds a bit morbid, or what is that, and how is that even possible? Well, keep listening. I've curated a special group of experts, and together we're going to show you the benefits and importance of being able to shift from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial way of thinking with ease. Now, your dreams, your goals, and your aspirations are way too big to be contained in a box of your current situation or trapped in the mind. And my guests have figured out the secrets to what it means to truly get out of your own way while you're still living on this planet. They are ready to reveal these secrets to you so you can turn those possibilities into reality and make your dash dazzle. So what inspired me to take on this huge task? Well, before I was born, I learned that my grandfather had an opportunity to purchase some land, and before it turned into a major tourist attraction. He also wanted to start his own barbecue venture. Then later on, my mother had a vision to become a major Christian author and speaker for women and young adults who wanted to understand the Bible in a practical way. But unfortunately, in 2012, both my grandfather and my mother passed away 3 weeks apart, and all those ideas and dreams went into the graveyard with them. Now, every time I visit the site, I see new plots, and I can't help but wonder what inventions, communities, or businesses will never get to experience because maybe that person thought they had more time, maybe they didn't have the courage to get started, or they lacked the persistence to keep going. Or perhaps they got too comfortable with the success they already had and didn't go for more. We'll never know their reasons, but right now you have a choice, and I don't want you to live with any regrets. So I'm launching this movement to help you step into more courage, persistence, and ways to think bigger. As a former mathematics teacher and college professor, I understand your need for a plan and wanting the step-by-step to get the right answer. So consider this virtual experience as a series of secret formulas only for the people who are ready to embrace their brilliance, explore new possibilities, and expand their minds for bigger goals, and finally achieve the results that will leave an impact on this planet. I felt myself heading this way. Even with all my degrees and accolades, I knew I was hiding behind comfortable success, and the tug to do more was getting harder and harder to ignore. So if that sounds like you, or you want that to be you, in the box next to or underneath this video, there's a place to insert your name, email, and phone number to get access now. When you click Get Access Now, I'll send you an email right away with all the details for this curated virtual expo. Now imagine this, the expo is over and you let out a sigh of relief because you finally heard that one thing that clears some of the messiness in your mind that has been blocking you from the money or the manifestation you needed to catapult you into being the solution to hundreds, thousands, or even millions of people. That's the feeling of being remarkable, and you deserve that to feel like that every single day. Be sure to enter your name, email, and number so I can give you something extra special before the virtual expo begins. It's time to make your dash dazzle, and I'll see you on the other side.